Welcome back to another episode of I Got a Story to Tell. I'm your host, Christopher Scott, the co-founder of Billion or Bust.
I had a chance to catch up with my mentor, Michael Hall. He is doing so many things down in South Florida. I will give him the opportunity to give you more detail because no one can tell his story the way that he can. Thank you for listening. I hope you guys enjoy.
Just as old as you.
Right. I'm kissing 30. I'm excited about it.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm getting smarter.
Yeah. Maybe.
Maybe. Well, I appreciate you taking out time.
No doubt.
Got a couple of questions, but, I'm going to ask the question, but, it's just going to be a typical conversation, and you just do you and drop gems and school me as always, and, but it kind of has a structure, but kind of doesn't.
That's fine.
All right, so, I guess, first things first, tell the people who Michael Hall is, what Michael Hall is. Notice how I said who and what.
Who is Michael Hall? Michael Hall is a 38-year-old black male from the Deep South, being Alabama, Panama City, also known as Redneck Riviera. A good old country boy that still appreciates catfish, beer, and spending time with his family. That's who Michael Hall is. What is Michael Hall? The brand is a connector, an ideator, dream chaser, an investor, craft beer maker, marketing guru, graphic designer, TV host, podcast creator, anything that can elevate a situation. If there's a problem or a shortness that I see somewhere, I don't really spend the time waiting for somebody else to do it. I'm actually going into the hospitality industry because I think one of the biggest things missing in our community is a place to convene besides the church.
It's always awesome talking to you for so many reasons because I swear, our brains are somehow connected. I swear. I'll talk about something and then we'll have a conversation and I'm like, man, I know I'm headed in the right direction. And I know I'm pivoting when I need to pivot because, one thing I can honestly say, you've taught me I can do anything. It's okay to create, and people think, I learned from you to pay attention to the trends. I remember when you first said, you need to start recording yourself. You're going to have your own channel. And then, where are we at 4 years later? What do we have?
Yeah. Well, but you were on a trend. You were actually ahead of a trend. 8-9 years ago when you were doing the sneakers, when you won the competition and was on the 850 magazine.
Yeah. I tend to forget about that from time to time.
So I remember when I saw another person of color living in an area that doesn't receive a lot of support on the cover, and the first thing I could think was, there's not going to be a support system, there's not going to be mentorship, and there's not going to be the guidance that you need to make it. So it felt obligated, and it's not that anybody would take this as being racist or anything, but sometimes you need to make sure you uplift our own. So to see another black individual trying to push it in entrepreneurship, I just felt somewhat obligated to reach out to you. And I do it for anybody back home, but I felt even more obligated to reach out to you and make sure that you were going to be successful.
It's everybody needs that mentorship.
But there is a difference between helping somebody and working for free. Those are two different things.
Expound for us.
I think helping someone is passing on knowledge, not wisdom, because wisdom can just be your journey. And wisdom may not always help somebody else because you might be guiding them off of your failures and you haven't figured out how to correct your own failures. So when you share knowledge, it's going to be based off of information that you can prove to be true to actually help somebody and guide them a different way. And if you don't explain that to people and let them know this is the difference between me telling you what the gospel is versus this is what I've experienced. And sometimes sharing wisdom is just as good as sharing knowledge, but you just got to help somebody understand the difference between the two. And I think once people go beyond that, and I'm now actually executing your business idea, I'm actually designing your website, I'm actually doing stuff for you that I should get paid for versus just talking to you over the phone to guide you. That's the difference between, or when I tell you to go do research and you don't do the research and I have to get the answer for you. That's the difference between helping somebody and working for free.
So, since you're talking about like as far as working for free, when do you feel like a person has reached that point where they can say, okay, I've passed the apprenticeship to a certain extent to the point I can start charging for my like services? You know, shouldn't there still be like a point of, you know, apprenticeship to a certain extent to hone your craft before, you know, charging? Or should you always, you know, from the beginning get in that habit of, you know, charging for your
the service? Moment it's like a relationship. You stop giving the moment you start feeling empty when you give. So I think that's a judgment call for individual people. If you give something you got to think when you love somebody, you give above and beyond what you expect in return. But you still have some form of gratification from giving. The moment you start to feel empty when you're helping someone, that's when you're working for them 9 times out of 10. So at that point, you should at least be getting paid for the suffering of that feeling, because otherwise the only thing they can grant you back as reciprocation would be equal knowledge or equal information that can help you grow as a person. But you should always know your worth and know your value when you're working through something, because you can't take exposure, wisdom, or knowledge to the bank. You still need to have cash or a check.
I mean, but it's true. Like, and I'm thinking about certain projects or certain things where I got to that point and I just didn't have that. I didn't feel like I was, I guess to label the feeling, it was giving back, you know, in a sense, like doing something for the greater cause, you know. We've always been storytellers. We just tell stories, you know, through visuals, you know, through sound. And we help others to tell their story, you know, because, you know I'm not good with words personally, and writing is not my strong suit, but you know, sonically and visually, I know those are things I excel in, and I can express how I feel that way. But kind of going back, I just stopped feeling that sense of, I feel like I'm not doing something that's going to affect people on a mass scale, like in a positive way, affect change. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at I guess you could say one of the theories of why they said Jordan retired, he didn't feel challenged anymore. He was dominating the game and he didn't feel challenged. And he always said the moment he stopped feeling that way, he would stop playing, and that's why he retired the first time. And then he chased another dream, which was baseball, but he was also smart enough to realize how quickly that he wasn't going to be great in baseball, and he didn't want to do anything he couldn't be great at. So he came back and he won 3 more championships. And I think, you know, the art of failing fast is something you just have to know. But failing fast is also trusting your gut instincts. I think a lot of times in business, we don't rely on our gut instincts enough to know that a bad situation is just a bad situation and you got to walk away. And it's not always about it's not paying you enough. It's not always about is the project going to be successful. Sometimes it's simply, does this still make you happy? And I think as an entrepreneur, if you force yourself to do something that doesn't make you happy or doesn't make you feel full, and it doesn't give back to you, it's probably not the project you should work on. So there's no reason to work for yourself and still be miserable.
Just want to interrupt the podcast really quick. A couple of people have been asking about a few of the items I have been wearing on my Instagram. I am a member of Menlo Club, formerly 5'4 Club. Every month, it's only $60. I get a few items carefully curated according to my style. This month, they are giving out a pair of Mark Maneri's new sneaker by New Republic. It's a dope, amazing white minimal sneaker. So I'm going to put the link in the bio. If you sign up through the link, you're going to get $40 off of your first box. So go ahead and sign up. That's menloclub.com. Make sure you check the link in the bio. Back to the podcast.
I'm going to get through these questions.
Go ahead.
What's the most challenging project to date that you would say that you've had?
Launching my microbrewery is the most challenging project to date, because it's a field that maybe only 50 out of 5,000 microbreweries are black owned. You're talking about craft beer, which is still new in a lot of areas, and you're talking about convincing people to, oddly enough, significantly put a significant amount of money into something that is probably one of the most consumed things at the events they attend. So granted, while it's hard to convince others to invest into a brewery, if we go to a club or a barbecue, the one thing we're going to see is 9 times out of 10, black people drinking Red Stripe, Corona, Heineken, or any of the above, Guinness. But that's been the biggest challenge. And I don't know if I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm not sure if it's me. I'm not sure if I'm not going to the right people. The niche, the marketing, the branding, and everything is on point. And everybody loves the vision because we're pairing craft beer with soul food and more culture food. So our flavoring just has different spices and different things most people wouldn't combine, or they wouldn't know how to market it to sell it off. Like our, brown sugar is a brown ale that's made with cocoa nibs and vanilla beans, specifically made to pair up with barbecue, because Southern barbecue, sweet barbecue, has those elements in it. So that's the most challenging one. It's an era where I don't control the whole project. I'm not a brewmaster, but I know what flavors I want, so I have to have a brewmaster. I can't just go into my garage and build a 5-vat system. So it requires me. There's no way to really make it a lean project. You got to have the $75,000 to $300,000 to buy the system. You got to have a building. You got to have permits. You can't really get started without the permits. So that's unless you're home brewing, which we do that right now. But that's been the most challenging project that I've been probably working on for the last 2 or 3 years, and it's moving the slowest also.
So. Have you heard of BrewDog?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's this big one up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of their Equity for Punks program?
No, I haven't.
So their Equity for Punks, it's like you can buy equity or buy shares, and you get certain perks, almost like similar to Kickstarter or like an Indiegogo type thing.
Mm-hmm.
They have like their different tiers and stuff like that.
So basically, to avoid anything with the FCC, they're not taking actual money for shares for you to actually make money off investment. You're just getting perks and buy-ins at the brewery itself.
Yes, and technically shares.
Okay.
But yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. I don't know. I thought about investing because I'm trying to think differently about money at this point. Instead of buying stocks, like, I'd rather be on the front end. Like, I'm buying equity into a company ahead of time. So when they go public or whatever the case, or, get that, round of funding, et cetera. You know what I'm saying? I would rather go from the ground up.
Yeah, because as a black man, you're looking at it as a legacy versus right now cash for what you can buy. When your mind starts to trigger that way, you start looking at money in a different way.
Yeah, I wish you would have triggered a little bit sooner. But hey, it is what it is.
Hey, it's happening at 30. That's a lot sooner than a lot of people.
Yeah, still.
You go talk to another 25-year-old and see how weird life is right now.
Man, no. Just thinking about 25. What's your most valuable? I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna ask you that one because
You can ask me. I know how to answer it. Go ahead.
I mean, you just kind of been given a lot of valuable lessons.
I got it. Go ahead, though.
Most valuable lesson.
My most valuable lesson probably came from my parents. My mom never told me anything I couldn't do, and my dad always gave me structure. Almost everything I do now, everything I used to question that he used to do growing up around the house, are pretty much identical similarities that I have to how I manage my household now. Because the most valuable lessons has really nothing to do with business. But just being a man and being respectful, those two things coming from my parents. But like how I mow my grass, how I wash my cars, how I tend to my house, how I'm attentive around the neighborhood, having a lawnmower service when I was 9 years old because my dad wasn't going to give me money and I had to earn it. My mom teaching me how to save. My mom teaching me how to be more respectful to girls. My mom being the first person I talked to when I was going through major changes in life. Those are the things. So the biggest lessons would be never to give up and just how to be a man. Two things I learned from my parents.
Yeah. What do you think, like, just about the overall climate about, like, what's happening? You know, you got, you know, Issa Rae, just, you know, you got Ryan. Like, what do you see? What do you think is going on? Do you think it's like a shifting, almost similar to maybe like a Harlem Renaissance from an artistic standpoint? Like, do you think we're now infiltrating? Do you think we've had enough? Do you think this is a phase? Because, you know, life does go in cycles.
Right. That's a loaded question. I'll try to answer it in the most simplified way, but I don't think it's a phase. I do think we're in our infancy. I believe some people need to make sure they know that spreading this information may not be the thing that makes them rich, but it might be a calling. Because there's a profound amount of content when it comes to people of color that doesn't highlight them in a positive way. As a black male, I'm very much tired and I'm drained from the coverage of us normally only being based around being killed by police officers or crime in our community. And that's the only way we're normally highlighted. I think at this point, having us take back the narrative of our story and telling stories in more positive ways and being unleashed, because these things are not new. They're only new to us. You know, Spike Lee was the first major filmmaker that ever shot in digital form. And when he was doing it, people thought he was crazy. But now when you go back and look at She's Gotta Have It and all that content, it still looks great because he was ahead of the game. So I think most of the time, Black Twitter, anything with media, music itself, hip hop, we're normally ahead of the game. But the main thing I worry about is us taking control over it. Not getting to a point where we're so reliant on YouTube or we're so reliant on Facebook to get our stories out. Like, I love what Kevin Hart is doing with LOL, the Laugh Out Loud Network, but I would love to see Byron Allen and Jay-Z get together to build a visual digital platform with these same kind of stories. Like, we should almost have our own independent Netflix and make it so strong that Netflix comes through and says, hey, we'll buy this up and this would be a whole category on Netflix. You know, I love the fact that we don't have to be typecast to tell a story, which is why Issa Rae's project was so big, you know. Wasn't just a typical black girl in the hood story, you know. So the fact that we're breaking typecast with content, you know, I remember when they first started doing online radio, me and my homegirl, Shelly Hall, odd enough she had my last name too, Shelly, we used to do some content and stuff, and only 5 or 6 people would listen. And that was 14 years ago. I just can't imagine what it would have been like if we would have stuck with it. But, you know, people didn't even have streaming speeds high enough to listen to that stuff. You know, so only certain people with certain money could even listen back then. So I'm just happy. A lot of things come back full circle. I was a poet, open mic, and sometimes using your voice to tell stories. Storytelling is one of the most beautiful arts, and the fact that I can do it vocally, the fact that I can do it visually, through digital art as well as being a fine artist, I just pray it's not a phase, and I just pray some people realize, just like, you know, some of our best artists, they didn't paint to be rich. They painted for the love of the art. So as long as we keep enough people with love and not just trying to be YouTube celebrities, I think we'll be all right. Everybody's not going to be Ryan. Everybody's not going to be Jordan Peele. Everybody's not going to be Ava. Everybody's not going to be Oprah. But it doesn't make your story less important, because if you touch one person, your story was worth it. So every time I do a Techniques and Bites and somebody runs up to me and quotes me, or they say, hey, you know, because of you, I decided to go this way with my business, that matches more than the pay that I can ever get from what I'm doing.
All right, top five.
Ha! I love these questions. Go ahead.
Top 5 hip hop songs.
Oh wow, the actual songs?
Yeah, like your go to. If you can't do 5, that's fine.
Juicy is number 1. 22 Twos is number 2, oddly enough, but that's definitely number 2. Wow. It's not really hip. Well, you said it didn't say you just said songs. It doesn't have to be hip hop.
We just ain't gonna do. We gonna do any genre. Top
okay.
5.
Because you know I'm an old head, so kind of it's off of John Coltrane. It's the song that plays in the background of Love Jones. I think
not Around Midnight. That's Thelonious.
Yeah, but if you know that it's the John Coltrane, I can't think of the song right now. I'll play it. If you ask for Spotify to play a John Coltrane mix, it's the first song that comes up on the mix.
I was just gonna pull up the Love Jones album.
And this is gonna be corny, but I'm gonna tell the reason why, because it is corny.
Go for it.
Number 4 is Songbird by Kenny G. That was probably the best moments of my parents' relationships, at least from my view. And I remember my dad used to just kill that song for some reason. And I specifically, when I hear it, the main thing I see is, you know, when you come in, a lot of people that's listening to us won't understand this, but you will. When you're headed south from Niceville and you get onto the long road on 98 coming by Fort Walton, and you come that long way and take the scenic route to go into Panama City.
Yeah.
I remember for some reason he was playing that song when we came home from Alabama, and he normally used to take 79 and he would take the back roads. Mm-hmm. But this time we went to Niceville and he took the scenic route. And I can always just see that sunset. And if people don't know, the white sands, the sugar sands off of Fort Walton Beach and Panama City Beach with a sunset, with a clear sky, is majestic. So that would be number 4. But for that reason, not because of Kenny G. And then I can't break this down to a song, but I'm going to have to say Bitches Brew by Miles Davis.
And you talking about in a sentimental mood.
Yes, exactly.
See, mm-hmm. I see you threw me off because you said I forgot Coltrane was on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's that's the perfect song if you doing brunch at home or you wake up, you slept in just a little bit. It's that 9:30. Still not too much noise from the community on a Saturday. Just throw that on. It's just easy to clean the house and get into the mood for the rest of the day.
I feel like you've done this a couple of times before.
That's the go-to when I wake up. Siri, play John Coltrane, and that song is the first one that comes on. And actually, it's not Siri, it's Alexa. Excuse me. I'm giving Apple credit when I should.
Hey, Hey, as long as you don't say we Google over here.
Yeah, that's it. It's all Alexa.
We Google over here.
I'm always appreciative that I have the opportunity to talk to amazing, intelligent minorities, being a minority, and having that representation is always let me know that I can do that too. And representation is what we're all about at BOB, and it's very important for us, not even, children to see it, but even as adults, for us to see other individuals that we consider our peers, or maybe even those that are older than us, in places that we wouldn't normally see ourselves. I definitely hope that you guys enjoyed this episode with me talking to my mentor, Mike. If you live in the South Florida area, be sure to check out Tech Beats and Bites. It's every Thursday at the Wynwood Yard. I'll be sure to put all the information in bio. Definitely a thank you for listening. Please continue to like, comment, share, and pass the word. And always remember to chase billions.